What is the status of the city being made whole again following Harvey, and what lessons has city government learned in the aftermath?
Well, Corpus Christi was very fortunate in that we got a glancing blow of Harvey. We didn't get the full brunt of Harvey. But one, we were very responsive to particularly our surrounding neighbors in the Gulf Coast area and helping them. But two, for instance, right now I signed a letter, I guess on the 24th, Christmas Eve, to the state asking for an extension to file whatever paperwork it was to get some grants and funds to help in the restoration of some of the Harvey storm damage. So, that happened in August of 17, and here we're almost into 19 now, so it's a year and a half since the storm, and we're still trying to submit funds for grants for reimbursement or to help us in some of the damage. Some of these smaller towns, Port Aransas Pass, Rockport, they had huge problems, and they didn't have the resources either, the reserves, so they're having to wait for funding. So the storm may be in our rearview mirror, but the damage is still ahead of us, and the repairs, and so it's a long process, and that goes back to this. You've got to have the ability locally to deal with those things, because we're having to apply to the state. They're administering some both state funds and federal funds for hurricane recovery, but it just takes time, and sometimes you don't realize the damages are done. We had some people, for instance, some of these condominiums on the island, after the storm, they went out there and looked, and they said, "Oh man, the buildings are all in place, looks great." Well, they went inside and realized that the roof had gone off of the top of the condominiums, and water had come down all through the interior walls and everything else. So the facade looked good, but they got in there and found out all the interior walls were wet, the carpets were gone. By that time, some of the mold had started, so they're having to go out there and take them back to the framing. So sometimes you don't discover the damages right away, but I would think by this time, most of the damages have been identified of hurricane related. It's just the process of getting it going. And so Harvey was a wake-up call for us and others. But I can tell you in terms of preparation, our emergency management people, our first responders, and all of those, they had been practicing what you do to prepare for a storm, protecting people, protecting property. And we worked the plan, and they responded beautifully. We had no fatalities in Corpus Christi. I'm not even sure we had any major injuries in Corpus Christi. We did have some in the surrounding areas, but kept them to a minimum. But your number one responsibility is the protection of life. And we feel very good that we got through a hurricane, Category 4 hurricane, with no loss of life. So we're very proud of that, and that's a goal that we ought to shoot for every time.